The time has finally come. The big tech earnings that we've all been waiting for are finally out, and I'll say it right now, they are pretty crazy. We definitely have one hell of a show tonight, as some of these stocks are going ballistic in after hours, while others aren't really moving too much. Today, we had some pretty big announcements come out related to these earnings, like a $50 billion share buyback, and even some of these big tech stocks starting to pay dividends. On top of that, we have some great setups to end the week, and we also have a couple pretty cool statistics about the market going forward throughout the rest of the year. We have a great video today. It's probably the most exciting day of the week, given the way in which these earnings ended up coming out, so stick with us all the way to the end. But Tom, we have a lot to cover today, so let's get right into it.
Yeah, just to kind of recap here, the market was pretty slow today, but end of day, it started really running up, and I guess people were bullish on some of those big earnings tonight, and I can see exactly why, Mike, because, man, Meta in after hours is up 14, almost 15% from where it closed today. That is an insane jump to the upside, and whenever you talk about Meta, there's a lot of things that are going on with this stock. So talking about the earnings, they beat on just about everything: EPS, revenue, daily active users, monthly active users, and they had a buyback, and they also announced a key dividend. I know a lot of people, they love to look for that buyback news, and it seems like Meta is on fire in after hours along with Amazon.
Exactly. So they're going to be buying back $50 billion worth of their shares. And like you said, they have a 50-cent dividend now. So as a shareholder, you really can't ask for much more. A buyback and dividends, let's go. And, looking at Meta's stock chart, it is literally blasting off the chart. Like, before we started recording, Tom and I had this conversation. Like, when you look at Meta stock on the daily chart, it is so high, it literally is off the charts right now. So that's pretty crazy. And then when you look at Meta stock over the past couple years, you could see it had a rough 2022. And I think Mark Zuckerberg took that personally, because in 2023, this thing literally hasn't even stopped rising. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it has. It just has not stopped ever since the beginning of 2023. And whenever I see this running up here, it started dipping back below $400, which it actually got above earlier in the week. But today in after hours, it's up above $450. Shout out to everybody who was buying the dip on this one back in 2022, because it is on fire at the moment. And anytime you have buybacks and you just beat all across the board, that's amazing news. And going over into the next big earnings play with Amazon, they are also up and running in after hours. From close or just before close, they're up around 8%. It's not like Meta up, 14, 15%, but still, that is a great run by Amazon, and it's the same story there. Revenue jumps 14%, and they beat all across the board, or at least match. So EPS beat, revenue beat by quite a bit. Advertising was good, and I know advertising is huge for these companies like Amazon, Meta, and the companies that have been reporting. So to see them beat across the board too is just great news, and this is pushing up so many stocks in the market. Even if we go over to other stocks like NVIDIA or AMD, they are running up in after hours. And then you can go over to things like Netflix. They're starting to run up a little bit, and I think that come tomorrow, we'll start to see that ripple effect affect way more stocks too.
No doubt. All of this bullishness should bring in a lot of great short-term opportunities. And while Meta and Amazon and a couple other stocks are really blasting, Apple's a little bit of a different story, but it's not horrible.
Yeah, it's really not. Apple's down in after hours, and they're kind of just below the low of day from this morning. They hit down around 182, but they are starting to trend back up a little bit. It's not the best report, though, for Apple. So, honestly, they show good revenue growth for the first time in a year. I know that they were on a bit of a bad streak there lately, but for now, revenue ended up beating, EPS beat, iPhone revenue was up, and across the board, a lot of these numbers beat. I know iPad revenue was down, but the big thing that is kind of negative for Apple right now are these China sales. I know that their mainland China numbers ended up missing a little bit year over year. So that's a big thing for them. That's really the big thing, because they showed good growth in the Americas and Europe, but China is really where they're seeing that downside movement and the lack of sales.
Yeah, so with Apple stock right now, it's not that it's like crashing and burning, but it clearly does not have that same level of momentum that a lot of other stocks have right now. So in my opinion, the best way to go about actually trading this is just not trading it. Just sit on the sidelines with it unless the momentum shifts, then there will be opportunity, but it's just not worth trying to force a setup on a stock that like literally is not moving now, especially when you have so many other stocks, having giant moves in both directions.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's no point, right? Why trade the choppy stock? Just stick where the money's flowing, right? We always talk about that. And there's money flowing into a bunch of different stocks in after hours too, like Nvidia, a bunch of lower price tech stocks, and like we talked about, Meta and Amazon are having those great moves as well, which could be good contenders for possible continuations tomorrow. Now, these stocks are up a lot in the short term and they're pushing all-time highs. Meta's really at new all-time highs. So it's going to be a little tough to trade, but if we can see and catch that good momentum tomorrow, there could be some good upside opportunity here on these two stocks and even other stocks in the market, like I talked about, and possibly even the SPY. And looking at the SPY, it's pushing that up to all-time highs as well in after hours as we broke above that recent high and pushed to new ATHs. So looking at the market for tomorrow, Mike, we'll have to see if this can continue. But I know that we were looking at that downside pressure earlier in the week, but like we talked about, these earnings can flip the script, and that is exactly what happened here.
Yeah, so while we're looking at so many stocks breaking their new all-time highs, one stock that's doing the exact opposite is the subscription coat rack company of 2020. Peloton, right? We all remember them, kind of. Basically, if you liked Peloton back in the COVID days at $170 a share, you'll love it right now at $4.21 per share. But in all seriousness, this stock and this company is just getting taken to the cleaners. Yeah, I just figured I'd throw that in there, Tom, just as, we're talking about so many stocks breaking highs. Why not do a little check-in on one of the I guess you could say old momentum style plays.
I actually was really hoping Peloton would have a nice move up this morning with their earnings and they would start to get some good momentum going after they announced that deal with TikTok a couple weeks ago. I was like, man, this might be the time for Peloton to get out of the dumps, but it is not. They're showing their true colors here, especially as so many other stocks are having fairly decent reports. So yeah, big drop on Peloton, down 24%. It's not every day a stock gets a quarter of its valuation cut.
Yeah, it's impressive. But on a different note, though, I saw a pretty interesting stat today that basically highlights volatility in the market overall. And we can see going all the way back to 1928, seeing decent red days is pretty common. And yesterday was actually the first day of 2024 that was a 1% or greater red day. And on average, going all the way back to 1928, there are 29 of these types of days per year. So at least based off this metric, while we're seeing a bunch of great upwards volatility, keep in mind that, at least statistically speaking, you should prepare for more decent red days along the way as well. So keep that in mind. I know everyone's super bullish right now, but I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, there's like a couple outliers where there were only like 4 of those moves per year, but almost every other year you can see there were tons of them. Like you said, the median, what was the median number again, Mike?
So the average was 29 per year.
Wow, 29. I mean, that is a big number, and you can see a lot of these years have 25, 27, 30, 41, 43. So definitely be ready for some more downside moves to come in. And I'll say this, with the upside volatility starting to increase and with all that good upside momentum, just realize that there's always big pullbacks as well. Like with some of these moves like Meta, with it being up 15%, don't be surprised if on the way up there's like little 5% drops mixed in and then it can end up breaking back higher, because whenever these stocks get volatile, it also has that volatility down too.
Exactly, that's the thing. So while we all love to see Meta up, let's say 14 or 15% in after hours, volatility works in both directions. As it's going up in a crazy way, it also goes down in a crazy way, and that's fine, because as long as the stock's moving, that's all you can ask for as a short-term trader. Whether it goes up or down, it doesn't really matter too much as long as you're willing to adapt. But great point there, Tom. And while this while today was probably the most exciting day of the week, we still do have a couple other events scheduled for tomorrow. Fill us in.
Yeah, so tomorrow morning, 1 hour before market open, we're going to get the unemployment rate and the non-farm payrolls. Then at 10 a.m., Michigan Consumer Sentiment Final will be coming out too, so watch out for those sentiment numbers. But the big thing is 1 hour before market open, these jobs numbers will be very, very important. Everybody's been looking at those over the past year or so.
Yep, and then we're basically good for earnings for the week, but we will have more big companies reporting next week, so keep that in mind. And Tom, let's get right into some setups for tomorrow. A stock I'm watching very closely is MSOS, and this basically follows marijuana stocks, and it had a phenomenal day today as it popped up by like 7.25% and also broke highs since basically 2022, which is pretty good. But either way, these stocks are moving with a lot of momentum right now, and normally when these stocks move, they can move for like months to honestly, just months at a time. So keep a close eye on them. I have been watching them very closely since the beginning of 2024, and they have been moving beautifully so far.
Yeah, let's go. I know you've been calling this one out a lot, so congrats to you, Mike. Kudos. Hopefully, people out there have been grabbing some shares of MSOS while it's been lower. I know these MJ stocks have been really heating up. And looking at my play for tomorrow, I'm looking at DraftKings, ticker symbol DKNG. They've had some good news lately with LeBron James, where he inked a partnership with them. Apparently, he's going to be giving NFL picks and stuff like that. He can't do NBA picks, though, because players can't discuss that stuff, obviously. But it's very interesting. He's doing a partnership with DraftKings, and DraftKings broke the new highs of the year here at the end of the day. So let's go DraftKings. I'm a shareholder of them, and I love them for the long term, Mike. I'm not necessarily a buyer at the moment, but short-term trades, we could definitely follow some good momentum here.
There we go. All right, another stock I'm watching pretty closely is GLD, and gold prices are inching closer and closer to their all-time highs, and GLD has had a pretty good day, but especially if we could see a break of that like 193 area on GLD, I think this one can move up a lot more over the rest of the year. Seeing headlines like gold prices broke their all-time high and are, increasing by the day brings in a lot of inflows, and that's not even accounting for, any geopolitical risk between everything going on in the Middle East and then just investors hedging themselves for whatever reason. But either way, I'm watching GLD to the upside. It's not just for tomorrow, but it's honestly for like the rest of the year, but more specifically for like the next couple weeks and months.
Yeah, I really like it for the next couple weeks and months as well. And with the market pushing higher, I know gold's been kind of following it a little bit. Normally you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, it actually has pretty moderate correlation to SPY. So I do like that as well right now. So give us a good shot here. But whenever I start to look at pretty crazy plays, right? My next play is on NVIDIA. So this is going to be a tough play for tomorrow. It's running up a ton, up to new all-time highs as well, up to around 640. So if NVIDIA can keep up with this momentum tomorrow, watch for a continuation. The overall market is moving. We see SPY running up, NVIDIA running up, a bunch of stocks are moving. I don't really want to play necessarily like Amazon or Meta just because of how high they're getting, but I think NVIDIA could be a really fun one here to maybe follow the market. And I'm also eyeing up AMD and Intel, which might even have better priced options, so maybe keep those two on the radar as well.
Boom. All right, Tom, well, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow then. And with the first one, we have a little bit of a boring stock, but it did have a really good day today, and that's Coca-Cola to the upside.
KO, what a move by them. They normally do not move this much in one given day, up 2.5%. The average move is only 0.5%. So if they can end up breaking above $61 tomorrow, go ahead and look at calls.
And again, I know that stock's kind of boring, but the options were up like 1,000% today. So you guys got to give us some leeway with that one. But with the next one, we have WBA also to the upside.
Walgreens, yeah, nice one here. Go ahead and if they can break this like double top over from the past couple days, go ahead and make them run to the upside. Above that, though, make it break before just running in here at 23.35.
All right, and then with the last one, we have CGC also to the upside. And for those of you who don't know, this is another marijuana company.
Yeah, another MJ stock here, Mike. Man, Mike, people are going to think we're the MJ worshippers after this video.
Oh my gosh.
Go ahead and watch for it to bounce up off of $5. It's a pretty big support. If it can break back above 510, then look at calls.
All right, so these three stocks are on watch to the upside for tomorrow. Basically, we're looking for these levels that Tom listed to break. We want to see the stocks run above them, and then we want to capitalize off of that imbalance in short-term momentum. We want to see constant pressure on that high of day. The more volume, the better, and we just want to see the stock moving in a meaningful way. That is where the opportunity is. If the stocks do not break above the listed levels, then find a new setup and find where the money's actually flowing. And speaking of, setups and trades and things like that, we definitely have to showcase today's bot play in the StockedUp trading floor. Tom, this was a monster one. So SM Bot went off today as it called out SMCI to the upside all day long, so much so that the best call today popped up by 628%. And it wasn't even just SM Bot, Tom. SurgeBot was talking about this one nonstop today as well. Long story short, if you're in the short-term trading, we have some of the best technology in the game. We have an army of bots that look through hundreds of thousands of data points every single minute to find exactly where the money's flowing, and then once they find those setups, they talk about them over and over and over again all day long. So if you want in on the action, check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. And as always with the trading floor members, we constantly add new updates, and all the updates are free for current members. And every time we release an update, it just gets better and better and better. That's the best way to put it. So come join us before we release the next update. And when we do release updates, we usually increase prices as well. To get in on the action, it'll be that first link in the description in the comments down below. And while we're in the Profits channel, we might as well give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Dat Soviet Boy, who crushed it with some Tesla call options today. And he's up almost 2,000%. So great job there, and keep up the awesome work. But Tom, it's about that time for today's multi-million-dollar big money trade of the day. And we are looking at GLD yet again. Today, the big money bought the GLD 195 strike call options that expire later in the year in August 16th of 2024 to be exact. And they put around $1.47 million into this trade. We talked about GLD a little bit earlier in the video, but overall the setup's pretty good. The call options are slightly out of the money, but they have a good amount of time to them. But I think the overall risk reward here is pretty tempting.
Yeah, I like it quite a bit. Whenever you look at it on the daily, the thing that's been going on with gold, like if we go out to a GC or a gold futures chart, we go out to a daily and we zoom out. Gold futures actually hit a new all-time high here earlier in the year, but right now, or I should say late last year, but whenever I'm looking at gold prices, we're really looking for that big break up above. And the thing that I really like is look at all these other hits. There were big extensions up to resistance and then big moves right back down. Right now, instead of seeing like a big wick hitting and then a big rejection coming in, what's happening is gold is actually holding higher and staying right around this resistance. What this does is it puts pressure on those overhead sellers. So if we can get the buyers to, maybe rally together here a little bit and push this stock higher, it's going to be amazing for gold prices. So I'm going to keep that on the radar a lot for GLD over the next few months. And I really like gold here for a potential breakout, especially since we're seeing the overall market breaking out too. It just helps fuel gold even more as those inflows just, and that bullish buying pressure starts having those ripple effects.
You know it, but either way, whether you're looking at gold or Meta in after hours or the market itself or anything else right now, everything is heating up, and this is awesome for short-term trading because these types of moves bring on even more volatility in both directions. So stay adaptable going into tomorrow. We have one more day left for the week, so let's make it count. Tom, do you have any final thoughts or anything else you're watching going into tomorrow?
Yeah, just keep your eyes on those momentum plays that we posted earlier. KO was nice. I know that our plays like DraftKings and MSOS are starting to look pretty fire as well. Keep your eyes on those marijuana stocks. And the big thing right now is just really following that momentum because there's so much volatility that you can catch some pretty good moves on some options, just like the bot did today with SMCI. So don't forget to check that out, guys. And hey, SMCI is almost to 600. I bet you if that breaks tomorrow, the bot will be calling it out again.
You already know. Guys, come join us. Get in on the action. Join us in the stocked up trading floor. Our bots crush it, and get in before the prices rise over the next couple weeks with this next new update. It's going to be fire. But besides that, thank you guys so much for watching, and let's end this week on a green note.